Hi, Ms.Joelle here. I'm going to continue reading Fuzzy Mud. We're on chapter 6, The Ergie. The following is another excerpt from The Secret Inquiry into Sunray Farm. Senator Wright, as I understand it, you invented bioline while you were still in college? Jonathan Fitzman, well, not exactly. I got a C- on the paper that I wrote about my idea for the Ergie. So then I dropped out of college and continued to work on it in my parents' garage. They weren't too thrilled about that, if you know what I mean. Senator Wright, Mr. Fitzman, would you please try not to swing your arms so much as you answer our questions? Jonathan Fitzman, oh, was I swinging my arms? Sorry, I have trouble sitting still too long. I think better when I'm moving. Senator Wright, so what exactly is this Ergie of yours? Jonathan Fitzman, that's just what I like to call the little guy. It's short for ergonym. It's a single-celled, high-energy microorganism. Very intense. Totally awesome. I got a tattoo of one of them on my arms if you wanted to see what it looks like. It's an exact replica. I can't see anything. Me neither. Well, like I said, it's an exact replica. It's the smallest tattoo in the world. You need an electron microscope to see it. Senator Wright, and there are more than 1 million of these Ergies in every gallon of bioline? Jonathan Fitzman, 1 million. Try a trillion or a quadrillion, or I don't know what comes after that. A gazillion. Senator Wright, try to control your arms, Mr. Fitzman. Jonathan Fitzman, sorry. I don't even have a chair at my desk in my office. I have to keep moving. Senator Foote, so you're no longer working out of your parents' garage? Jonathan Fitzman, no, I've got an incredible laboratory now. My biology professor might not have thought much about my Ergie, but some other folks did. Some very rich folks. Senator Foote, how much does it cost Sunray Farm to produce 1 gallon of bioline? Jonathan Fitzman, oh, I'm not the business guy. I'm the, the guy who thinks it all up and figures out how to do it. But I'd say that the first gallon cost us, I don't know, somewhere around $500 million. Senator Wright, $500 million? And what about the second gallon? Jonathan Fitzman, about 19 cents. Chapter 7, Tuesday, November 2nd, 4:10 p.m. Be careful not to step in that, Tamaya warned as Chad Hilligus made his way around the strange mud. What do you think all that weird fuzzy stuff is? She asked. She might as well have been speaking a foreign language, the way Chad looked at her. He spit on the ground, then looked her in the eye and demanded, Where's Marshall? His tone was nasty, but Chad was her only hope, so she had to be nice to him. He's climbing up on the ledge, trying to find a way back home. We got lost. When I heard you coming, at first I thought that you might be that crazy hermit that you were telling me about, but then I saw your blue sweater, so... She shrugged and smiled. Chad spit on the ground again, then walked past her, heading after Marshall. He stopped as Marshall appeared from around the side of the hill. Marshall hesitated just a second when he saw Chad, but then continued on down as if nothing were the matter. Hey, Chad, he said. Tamaya sensed something was wrong. She could hear it in Marshall's voice. I waited for you, Chad said. I know, Marshall said. I was on my way there, but then Tamaya said she knew a shortcut in the woods. What was I supposed to do? I have to walk her home. My mom won't let me walk home alone, Tamaya explained. Chad glanced at her, then turned back to Marshall. You trying to make me feel like a fool, just standing there on the corner waiting for you? No. Chad stepped toward him, then pushed him backward. You think I'm a fool, don't you? Marshall regained his balance. No. With sudden ferocity, Chad lunged at him. He slugged Marshall in the face and then in the side of the neck. Tamaya screamed. Marshall tried to protect himself, but Chad hit him twice more, then grabbed him by the head and threw him on the ground. Leave him alone, Tamaya shouted. Chad glared at her. You're next, Tamaya, he said. Marshall tried to get up, but Chad's knee caught him in the side of the head, knocking him back down. Tamaya didn't think. She just reacted. She reached into the fuzzy mud and grabbed a handful of the thick and gooey muck. She ran at Chad, and as he turned toward her, she shoved it into his face. He lunged at her, but she was too quick, stepping to the side. Chad stumbled past her, then bent over and covered his face with his hands. For a moment, Tamaya was too scared to move. Marshall scrambled to his feet, grabbed both backpacks, and shouted, "Run!" Tamaya ran as hard as she could, for as long as she could, until she felt like her lungs would explode. She didn't know if Marshall had seen the way home or if they were just running deeper into the woods. She didn't care, just so long as they got away from Chad. She was still running when her foot caught into a tangle of vines, and the next thing she knew, she was sprawled across the dirt, her heart pounding, and her hands stung from the fall. She took several long, deep breaths as she tried to make herself get back up, but she just didn't have any strength left. She was afraid to look behind her. Marshall had stopped running after he heard her go down. She saw him heading back toward her, still holding both backpacks. She could tell from the way that he walked that Chad must not have been too close. She turned. Chad was nowhere to be seen. She pushed herself up to a sitting position as Marshall approached. "You okay?" "I think so." Her knees were scraped and bloody, and her left wrist hurt from when she'd fallen, but she didn't think there was anything seriously wrong. Besides, Marshall was a lot worse. Dried blood and snot was caked beneath his nose. Sweat dripped off his face. "You think he's still coming?" she asked him. "I don't know, but if not today, tomorrow." Tamaya knew that was true. Chad's words still echoed inside her. "You're next, Tamaya." And that had been before she smashed the mud in his face. She got back to her feet and took her backpack from Marshall. They continued walking the way they had been going. "Is this the way?" she asked. "Were you able to see anything from the ledge?" "Not really," said Marshall. "So what'd you do, anyway, to make him so mad?" "I answered a question in class." Tamaya didn't get it. "So?" "It's different in 7th grade. You're not supposed to act like you know anything." The sky was beginning to turn dark. Tamaya worried that it wouldn't be long before they wouldn't be able to see anything. "Look, smoke!" Marshall declared. "Where?" "It's smoke from a chimney," he told her. She tried to follow where he was pointing, and then she saw it too, gray smoke against a gray sky. They hurried toward it, although for all Tamaya knew, it could have been coming from the home of a crazy hermit. She imagined them as Hansel and Gretel going to the home of the evil witch. As they got closer to the source of the smoke, however, she saw that it wasn't just one isolated home, but a whole street of houses with parked cars and front lawns. Tamaya stepped over the short metal barrier onto the road. She felt like getting down on her hands and knees and kissing the asphalt, but Marshall might have thought that was a little bit too weird. She glanced back at the road sign that read, "Dead End." The street lights came on as they were walking away from the woods. Tamaya suggested that they knock on somebody's door to see if they could get a ride home, but Marshall said that they didn't need to. He knew the way. It wasn't too far. Tamaya's right hand began to tingle, and she rubbed it with the other. It didn't exactly hurt. Her skin just felt all sort of fizzy, like a freshly opened can of soda. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, let's leave it off there. Bye. I should mark these down, and I need to charge my phone.